After more than 20 years of silence regarding his experiences with Diddy, Ice Cube is finally speaking out. He has testified about what he saw during his time working with Diddy, revealing disturbing allegations that Diddy was grooming minors. Additionally, Kanye West has appeared at the trial in support of Diddy. A leaked phone call between Kanye and Diddy has gone viral, and one of the jurors was recently dismissed after it was discovered that Diddy's lawyers were allegedly controlling him.
But I've been shut out, you know. Some platforms will not have me on.
Why?
They don't like that I'm, an independent thinker. I'm not part of the herd. And so, I'm not part of the club.
Almost 40 years rocking the mic. You still killing it, goddamn. And I'm gonna tell you right now, me and Dub C ain't never been to a Diddy party, motherfucker. Nah.
Thank God!
You ain't gotta worry about us on them motherfucking tapes. Now check this shit out.
Week 4 of Diddy's trial is underway, and Ice Cube has provided detailed testimony about his visit to Diddy's mansion in 1994. Ice Cube collaborated with Diddy on his War and Peace album, and during production, Diddy invited him to his home. Ice Cube recounts witnessing the same drugs, guns, and escorts that are now being entered into evidence. Over 1,000 bottles of baby oil lining the walls of Diddy's mansion, along with lubricants, drugs, and whips. He describes how Diddy would beat women in front of guests, revealing a dark side he thought everyone would keep hidden.
Diddy, you're hearing Diddy everywhere, okay?
Yeah.
So, did you ever have any kind of run-in with Diddy? Did you ever do anything with Diddy? Any projects you worked on with him?
He produced a few records, or had his producers do a few records on my War and Peace album, the Peace Disc. Yeah.
How was he to work with?
It was cool. He gave us great music. We flew out to New York, and I was mainly in the studio with the producer. He had a stable of producers, so I was in the studio with his stable of producers, and I think we did some great music. And I really, kind of, lost contact with him and really stopped, dealing with Puffy around 94. Yeah.
Any specific reason?
Yeah, they was doing their thing, I was doing mine. And, I'm not the partying type. You know what I mean? I ain't never been to a Diddy party. I ain't never really wanted to go. But I don't go to a lot of people parties. That just ain't what I'm in it for.
Ice Cube's testimony included detailed accounts, names, locations, and dates. He described horrifying scenes within Diddy's mansion, how Diddy was abusing women, controlling every move, and organizing freakouts. Diddy's lawyers objected, claiming Cube's statements were prejudicial and hearsay, but the judge overruled them, citing Cube's first-hand knowledge and his oath. The courtroom sat in silence as Ice Cube detailed hidden rooms, surveillance footage, threats, and intimidation tactics used by Diddy and his associates. He also shared how powerful industry figures threatened him, warning he'd never work again if he spoke out. Despite being blackballed, Ice Cube insists he couldn't ignore what he had witnessed.
You know what it is? It's your homeboy Ice Cube. And some of you may not have realized that I'm not part of the club. And a lot of you listening to me right here, right now, you're not part of the club either. And what I realized with the club is what makes them so mad is when you don't want to be a part of their fucking club. That pisses them off. What club am I talking about? I'm talking about the club of gatekeepers
I've been excluded on Oprah, you know.
On Oprah?
On Oprah, yeah, I've been excluded. Yeah, man.
I would think you'd be the person Oprah would want to promote. I mean, you grew up in South Central, you were successful at a young age, you have dignity, you say what you think. Like, I thought that was the goal.
What is happening to Diddy now has been brewing for years. It's believed that Diddy isn't the mastermind behind everything. Once the industry elites realized he was no longer useful, they discarded him. Hollywood, often described as a corrupt and toxic environment, produces victims and predators alike. Clive Davis is often accused of fostering the environment that led Diddy to become the man he is today. As we peel back the layers of Ice Cube's revelations, it becomes clear that Hollywood is riddled with predators. Sexual abuse is rampant across the entertainment industry, with notorious figures like Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Roman Polanski, and now Diddy allegedly exploiting young men and women. These individuals are often linked to a so-called gay mafia controlling Hollywood and the music scene, involved in sex trafficking rings that include record executives and directors.
And so eventually you're going to go too far, you know? Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head, you know? But when you lose your man card, that's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. You don't get that back. You get maintain your man card.
Allegedly, Diddy is manipulating the legal process even now. Juror number 6 was recently dismissed after it was revealed he had lied during jury selection. Diddy's lawyers fought to keep him on the panel, claiming he was crucial to the case. The question remains, how did Diddy manage to influence the jury? Sources suggest Juror 6 had undisclosed ties to Bad Boy Records through a distant family connection, a link he failed to disclose.
Diddy Juror 6 gave multiple inconsistent statements. The judge was going over his issues with Juror number 6, and although he did not make a final determination, his thoughts on Juror number 6 being removed were pretty clear. He stated that in the initial process, Juror number 6 said that he lived in the Bronx with his fiancée and his daughter. Then he turned around a while later and said that he moved to New Jersey with his girlfriend, and also said that his daughter lived in New Jersey. But then it changed again and said that his daughter lived in the Bronx with his aunt. And he referenced that this was only a couple of the inconsistent statements, that there were more. The judge then stated that he wants this juror off the jury because there is no reason why this man would have to lie, and the only reason he would lie is to be a part of the Diddy trial, which made him worry that this juror might have a malicious intent or an agenda. But then after the judge said that we need to strike this juror off of the jury, Diddy's team started bringing up more arguments about this. Diddy's lawyer said that this juror is important because they need diversity, and he is only one of 4 black men that sit on the jury. He also said that he doesn't believe that these inconsistencies were that big of a deal where this juror would have to be removed. Diddy's team was arguing that this is something that should have been brought up weeks ago, and nobody brought this up, and the government is saying, listen, I didn't even know about this back then. Then Diddy's lawyer said something really weird. They said, just bring this juror in, just question him. I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure he'll be able to explain. But this is what the government wanted the judge to do earlier, and Diddy's lawyer said, no. That would be harassing the juror. Then the judge told everybody to get out of the courtroom, that they needed to have a sealed talk.
Diddy's connections extend into politics, as he was close friends with Mayor Eric Adams. Both were exposed around the same time, highlighting how Diddy's ties to political elites helped him evade arrest for years. Even now, many influential figures continue to support him. Notably, Kanye West recently made an appearance at the trial to show his backing for Diddy.
Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, has made a surprise appearance at Sean Diddy Combs' criminal trial on Friday. He expressed support for his fellow rapper as he defends against sex trafficking charges.
Big breaking news tonight, and for the first time in the history of New York City, a sitting mayor has been indicted for crimes. ABC News reporting that Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted by a federal grand jury. We do not know yet the exact charges. Federal authorities have been investigating Adams and members of his staff, issuing subpoenas for documents and cell phones. Several members of administration have resigned.
every way to try and get rid of any principles there are, and that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream, they don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place, what benefit is that if I lose my integrity? You got to go in as a principal. And what we were brought in here as men. We produce 1,500 sperm per heartbeat for a reason, because the aggression is necessary. You don't trade that in, no matter what.
Prosecutors have presented evidence of Diddy's drug use during the trial. Photos from his hotel room, along with $9,000 in cash intended for escorts, have been shown. Even after a raid on his Miami mansion uncovered over 1,000 bottles of baby oil, Diddy was reportedly still engaging in wild parties involving MDMA, ecstasy, cocaine, firearms, and more. The evidence suggests a pattern of involvement in drug trafficking, victim disappearance, and exploitation.
Cassie told the jury that Diddy forced her into drug-fueled sex acts with male escorts while he watched, sometimes sitting in the corner and masturbating. Through tears, she said she took drugs to numb herself, ecstasy, cocaine, and ketamine, all of it allegedly supplied by Diddy. She said the freak-offs included as many as 4 male escorts at once and typically lasted 36 to 72 hours. The longest, she said, the longest freak-off that she says she was forced to perform in lasted 4 days. She said they took place around the world, from New York to Miami to Spain to even Turks and Caicos. And at every stop, Cassie said the hotel rooms were stocked by Diddy's staff with baby oil.
Sad to listen to.
At the center of the case is a woman known only as Jane, a former girlfriend of Diddy's associate Combs. Her identity is sealed for her protection, but her testimony was harrowing. She shared an emotional account of psychological manipulation, violence, and sexual coercion behind Diddy's guarded gates. Her story shed light on a hidden world of abuse and control that the public was never meant to see, leaving the courtroom stunned.
She says that Diddy forced her to take drugs and that she would be awake for days, that she was taking ecstasy and Molly. And she said on these trips, she was sometimes so high on drugs that she lost her sense of self. Jane has finally taken the stand. Now, we're not allowed to reveal her identity because she's testifying under a pseudonym. She's talking about how she and Diddy first met, how they met in Miami and how he was so sweet and loving, and that he was actually dating a friend of hers at the time, but that the two of them started going on trips to Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas. During her testimony, she's been crying, and it seems like it's been really hard for her to be up there on the stand. She is now talking about how Diddy would make her watch pornography while they were having sex with each other, and that he would talk to her about his fantasies. He would make her wear lingerie and what she calls stripper heels, and that at one point he told her that he wanted to see her have sex with other men. That's when he took her to a hotel room, and she starts describing how his assistants were in there setting things up with baby oil and the lighting and providing drinks. And she said that when she was there, he then hired an escort from a company called Cowboys for Angels. She said that this escort's name was Dawn, and that she had sex with this man in front of Diddy while he masturbated. Jane testified that over the next few years, 90% of her relationship with Diddy centered around these sexual encounters with male escorts. She testified that she told Diddy multiple times, verbally and in writing, that she did not want to participate in these sexual encounters.
Third alleged victim, who goes by the pseudonym Jane, was back on the witness stand for her first full day of testimony. The prosecutor played an audio recording for the jury of a hotel night with a male prostitute Jane identified as Dawn. On the recording, Jane and Dawn are looking for a condom, but Combs didn't allow it and can be heard saying, quote, "You're taking that expletive." Now, Jane testified, quote, "I just didn't want to disappoint my lover. He would be unhappy and wouldn't be satisfied with me." Jane went on to tearfully tell the jury about her birthday in 2023 when she said she was made to have sex with 3 different men in addition to Combs. The prosecutor asked why. Jane responded, "I don't know. It had become so routine," and added that she turned robotic. Jane told the jury that after a while, Combs didn't have to directly ask her for these hotel nights. She testified, "I knew it was to be expected." Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. If convicted, he faces the possibility.
Jane's testimony revealed a disturbing incident during a trip to Las Vegas, where she was taken along with Diddy to meet another high-profile rapper and his girlfriend. What began as a glamorous weekend spiraled into darkness. Although she didn't name names in court, sources suggest the rapper was Kanye West. Kanye's recent appearances at the trial have fueled speculation, coinciding with Jane's testimony and raising questions about his involvement.
Real from the front line, you know what I'm saying? It's wicked, 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 so you be careful. Yeah. We can't do nothing in days, you know what I'm saying? I need you out there, you feel me?
Yeah. I hear you, yes sir.
Yeah.
Yes sir.
Man, have some fucking fun. Yeah. Not having no fun, and then get behind the mic, have some fun, chop up them samples, get back on your hit man vibe. Yeah. Have some fun, get back to smiling. Yeah. These other motherfuckers, they're wasting your time, big. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
Cassie's testimony further exposed the horror of Diddy's freak-off parties. She described minors being groomed, used for pleasure, manipulated, and sexually assaulted, all under the guise of elite industry gatherings. Cassie testified that Diddy was in control every step of the way, and when things didn't go his way, he became violent and unpredictable.
People listening on here, but as she was describing these events where she said that there were multiple male escorts that were happening at one time, these freak-offs would happen for 2, 3, the longest 4 days at a time, and control is the word we need to talk about. That is what prosecutors really laid out, and you heard Cassie describe how every action during these freak-offs, which were between her and male escorts, not necessarily between her and her boyfriend, Sean Diddy Combs, he sat off to the side really directing things according to her and masturbating along with what he wanted to see. But he was in control, she said. Really did not seem rehearsed in the slightest. It did seem like this is her story, and she didn't really want to be in a position where she had to tell it in this way, but was doing what needed to be done.
And just quickly, Caitlin, what was Diddy doing when he's sitting there? I'm just envisioning you've got his family sitting behind him with all these grotesque details, this woman on the stand. What was his reaction?
First and foremost, he came into the courtroom and acknowledged his children. That is something he has done every single day. But during the actual testimony, when things got really dark, one of the mothers of one of his children had to get up and leave the courtroom. She couldn't sit through it. And you, Brian, have been in so many of these court cases the way I have. You know that the defendant is not supposed to react. But Diddy reacted. There were a few times where he was shaking his head no, kind of nodding along. There was a deep sigh at one point. But in 2 instances, one when they were talking about baby oil and the fact that it needed to be reapplied at sometimes 5-minute intervals because that's what he wanted to see. And then another instance when Cassie revealed the pseudonyms that he uses at hotels, that he actually pushed his chair all the way back from the defense table.
A male sex worker known as the Punisher also testified, recounting 8 to 12 encounters with Cassie Ventura while Diddy watched and directed. He described how Cassie would comply with Diddy's suggestions, showing no concern for her well-being. The acts were about control and degradation, not pleasure serving Diddy's sick desire to dominate.
On the stand, she said that guys would climax on her and she would take the cum and rub it on Diddy's nipples. Was this happening in your sessions?
Well, so it is an assumption, right? So, obviously with the veil, there was a very deliberate attempt to hide his. Away, man.
Right.
With Ice Cube breaking his silence, Jane and Cassie exposing horrors behind closed doors, and Kanye's suspicious appearances fueling speculation, we're witnessing the unraveling of a carefully constructed empire. If even half of these allegations are true, Diddy's arrest might just be the beginning. As the dominoes fall, no one artists, executives, or politicians will be immune from the truth. Like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments.